Welcome, Scott and Mallory, to the Wholesome Crypto podcast. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having us. We're happy to be here.
You guys are, I've seen what you guys are working on, SHAmory, the board game, and also Goodnight Bitcoin, the book and movie. It's something I love talking about, is educating people on crypto in general and Bitcoin. And I love that you're also making it child friendly so everyone can learn at any age. But before we get into all that stuff, I love to learn about how you even heard about Bitcoin. What were you guys even doing before, going full time into making this board game? Let me know your history. Like how did you guys, where were you guys before even knowing about Bitcoin?
Sure, I can.
You want to kick it off?
My story starts first, and then it kind of rolls into Mallory. And you're actually getting us on a day where the history is kind of slightly changing. Where
today, kind of monumental day.
Yeah, today is actually my last official day at my full-time job.
Congratulations.
So after come Monday or come tomorrow, whatever you want to say, I'll be full-time SHAmory for us for 2022. So we got to back the story in from there. But yeah, so it's an exciting day in our household.
It is.
We're married, for those that don't know. So I kind of was the guinea pig going into the Bitcoin space back in late 2017. Kind of same story as a lot of other people. The end of the last bull run caught my attention, sucked me in. Before that, I remember kind of hearing about Bitcoin for the first time, probably in like 2012.
Like mainstream media, or did you have like a friend who was, hey, Scott, this is it. Listen to this.
Yeah, it was a news story on the local news out here in San Diego about the first Bitcoin ATM coming into the city. I just, for whatever reason, always stuck in the back of my head. Never acted on anything related to it, sadly, obviously at that time. But that's the first time I remember actually, something about it. And then 2017 came, and maybe that little intuition from back then had continued to stick. And okay, let's learn a little bit more and take us where it went. And I think my background is a mixture of both public accounting as well as education technology. And so that's where I've been for the past, between the two, I guess, 17 years.
So you're working as an educator too? This is...
No, so I graduated with a degree in accounting. And so I did public accounting on the audit side of things. So kind of have the brain for, why trust and verifiability and
money,
that aspect kind of built in the back. And then for the past 13 years, I've worked at an education technology company, building and managing products. So it's a nice mixture of kind of that accounting brain mixed with creativity and education. And so over the past 4+ years, it was pretty early on that it sucked me in. Mallory was always the supportive wife and went along with putting money in and then putting a little bit more money in. That story. But being able to kind of say, okay, recognizing there's a gap in the space, like you said at the beginning, for easy to consume content and education for all ages. Well, the game's for kids or adults. The book is obviously for kids. We have some other ideas in the back of our heads as well. But that's kind of the quick glimpse of kind of my story. And then Mallory's kind of tags along, but also is slightly different.
Yeah. So what's your story, Mallory?
Well, my story is really just beginning. And I think it's kind of unfolding every day. But like Scott said, back in 2017 was really when we together started putting some money into Bitcoin. And that's when Scott started to talk to me about it. And to be quite blunt, I really wasn't that interested.
Gotcha.
Like I would entertain the conversation, right? I think probably as some listeners or spouses, significant others, maybe listening to the podcast might agree. So I'd entertain the conversation, but it really didn't, it didn't pique my interest too much. And we started putting more and more money into it. And, I started paying attention a little bit more. But when Scott brought the idea of starting to educate our daughter, who's 2 years old, about Bitcoin, because it was something that he really believed in, and I believed in as well, then I started paying attention, because it's always been really important to me to provide our daughter and other children that are open to it real world education. I pretty firmly believe that kids are probably a little bit like sponges, right? They absorb and they're probably able to retain a lot more information than we give them credit to. So the idea of teaching our daughter about Bitcoin and what it meant for our household really piqued my interest. And I think that's when my Bitcoin story started.
Were you guys always into tech, or did you like, care about tech? Like, how is that like? So I know for me, like the money aspect of it kind of makes sense. And that's kind of usually how I go about teaching people about Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies in general. Like, put this much money in, it grows because of volatility and people get excited. But it's like, here's the catch. And then let me start backtracking and explaining how the technology works and why it's valued so highly.
Yeah, I think probably the tech side itself interests probably me more than Mallory.
Yeah.
Like I find that interesting. I'm not like I'm not a developer or anything like that, so I'm not going that deep. But it does interest me. The game itself centers around Bitcoin mining, so obviously there's tech involved there. We've never mined ourselves, but learned enough about it to be able to put the game together. And so there's kind of that aspect, just kind of natural intuition and curiosity to kind of keep diving deeper.
Yeah, my background hasn't ever been in tech. My degree, actually, I have a master's in social work. And right now I work with high school students with various disabilities, getting them prepared for what they want to do after high school. And that could be entering the work world or going to a training program. It doesn't really make a difference. So never interested in tech, but I've always had a helping career. So for me, pivoting to this card game that we have in the Goodnight Bitcoin, educating a really even younger audience with Goodnight Bitcoin, helping people has always been a part of my identity, whether it's in my professional or personal life.
And that's amazing because I guess that's always been in you, is educating, helping people. And Scott, you're very, very into like, I guess, new technology, up and coming tech that's coming out, whatever that case may be. And it's kind of nice that both of you, complement each other and like fill each other's gaps. But I guess as a side, like, have you always been in like the creative space, trying to tinker around with new toys, or just more of like, I guess in a playful manner, like trying to figure out what fun things you can do instead of just traditional, hobbies or anything like that?
Yeah. I guess definitely myself. I've always had different ideas in the back of my head throughout our marriage, or even going back before dating. Like, this would be a cool idea to try to launch or whatever. And so SHAmory was the first one that really stuck and took off. And I think part of the benefit for the past 13 years of being in my role in the ed tech space is I had a lot of different hats, but part of it was kind of product roadmap, as well as kind of user experience and helping to develop that. And so that creative side, I think it's also why I left accounting so fast, because it didn't have that aspect. But being able to kind of be both creative and also kind of black and white at the same time. Like I don't like ambiguity. So being able to have that nice mixture is kind of my perfect balance. So this gives us part of that.
Nice. And then I guess during that time you're in accounting, you're learning more about Bitcoin. When did it like really click for you that this is going to be the future rather than just something I'm messing around with and hoping to make a quick dollar off of it?
Yeah. It was probably within the first 6 months of kind of going down that space. So say, early 2018 at that time, sometime in there, where it was like, okay, yes, things are obviously, it was in that 2018, 2019 bear market and seeing the actual number go down, but learning more about what's actually going on in the space, all the smart, quote unquote, smart people moving into the space, big companies, just kind of using your natural intuition to say, okay, yeah, sometimes you have to ignore the actual dollar value and just follow the roadmap of what's being built, and know that it's a longer journey. And so I've always had a lower time preference in just life in general. So that comes more naturally. So it doesn't bother, the volatility doesn't bother me as much as it might some other people, which I totally understand.
Yeah, that's exactly it too. Is like what I'm realizing now, like I first heard about crypto like 2013 or so. And again, I followed the volatility. So when it was high in price. I was like, oh, sweet, it's exciting, it's fun. Then the bear market came. I'm like, all right, I don't care anymore. And then again, 2017, a new bull market came, and I'm like, all right. Last time, all the creators, all the developers, all the smart people are working during the bear market, developing their ideas. And then what seems like overnight is actually 5 years in the making. This is when the product comes to life, is when the bull market comes again. And have you, I guess for you guys, you've been working on this since 2016, you said?
SHAmory only since 2020.
So
Recently
but you've been, in that space, learning as much as you can for those 4 years. And now this bull market came, and now it's time to launch the product. That's awesome. And then Mallory, when did it click for you? When was that light bulb moment where like, okay, Scott's talking about something really interesting now, and it makes sense to me, and I wanna jump in on it too.
Yeah.
It's not crazy yet.
Well, all of our money had getting put towards it. So I feel like you start paying attention when that starts happening. But I don't know if there was a single moment. If there was, I'm going to tie it back to Miami, 2021. So last year's Miami. So to give everybody a little bit of backstory, we were at the Bitcoin conference in Miami, 2021. We, set up a table. And at the time, we had only had the SHAmory card game. So we were out there meeting people, meeting mining companies, meeting, people in the space, mom, dads, parents, CEOs, everybody in between. And the feedback about our product was so overwhelmingly positive. It was the first conference that Scott and I had been to sell our product. And you never really quite know. We had some positive feedback from people at smaller gatherings. And of course, we sold some on our website. But in a big audience of people who really know the space, we weren't sure what we were going to get. And the feedback was so overwhelming that we went back to our hotel the first night. And that's when I really thought, like, okay, Bitcoin is something I've known that for quite a while, but I also believe that we have a company that is really something, because every single person would say to us comments like, wow, I've never seen Bitcoin mining explained in such a simplistic way. Or families who had already played our game would come up to us and say, this game is amazing. It spurred such conversation with our parents or our kids about Bitcoin and about money and about, financial freedom. So I would say after the first night I went home and I thought like, wow, this is really something. And that's when we started talking about Scott leaving his full-time job to pursue this full-time. And then just in the last few months, we've rolled out with Bitcoin, with Goodnight Bitcoin, and Scott's taking this full time, and there's really no looking back.
That's amazing. And that's beautiful, because I think that inspiration from everyone around you in that conference must have definitely given such a adrenaline rush to keep pursuing, keep continuing. And like Scott said, that he's quitting his job. So Monday is your final day, and that's exciting.
Yes, absolutely.
So then now that you're, working on the game full time, what has been one of like the most difficult aspects of creating a game? I've never created a game before, and I don't know the process at all. And I don't know if you guys ever had experience beforehand. So what was that journey like of entrepreneurship?
We made it.
We didn't.
We definitely made it up as we went.
Yeah.
Classic entrepreneurs.
We launched a physical product before.
Yeah.
It's a learning curve.
It was, it probably took from kind of the original idea to first shipping about a year, maybe a year, a few months to actually get it out. Everything from, obviously at the beginning, you're trying to figure out, okay, what's the actual game? So there's a drawer over there where there's actually, index cards, where the first game was kind of hand drawn out in different ways. There's a few different printed versions that we did. They're pretty crappy.
First iterations always are. It's okay.
Exactly.
You gotta start somewhere.
The good news is the actual gameplay never changed.
Yep.
And it was the actual card. So for those who are watching, our entire, both the game and the book, and really everything we do from here on out, a lot of it centers around pulling out these kind of fun little Bitcoin monster characters. And so in the first versions, so these cards represent targets and nonces. And so instead of having fun characters on the cards that you're trying to memorize, we were actually trying to create like blocks. And so there was hashes and timestamps and all that stuff to try to make it as real as possible. But like with most things, simple is better and more fun is better. And so we quickly pivoted into the characters, which has been awesome because every kids and adults love them. So the process from there was like, okay, we need an actual designer. We're not graphic designers. We need to take this idea from our brain and our paper to an actual design. So going through that whole design process, going through the manufacturing process.
That's tough.
For the first time. Right at the end of that was when the first wave of COVID hit. So we had to shift manufacturing to a different idea because a bunch of manufacturers got shut down during that period. So yeah, we actually hit, I think we started our first print like a month after COVID hit. So like it didn't stop us, but it slowed things down. And obviously there's always a time that you don't know what's going to happen. And then, building like we said, neither of us are technical. So building a website on our own for the first time, e-commerce on our own, shipping on our own, shipping boxes, taxes,
every aspect of
shipping
it.
taxes.
It's wild. It's wild how much you learn on the way. It's like things you never thought about, things you just like, oh, I didn't even know this was an issue. And you're just like, I have to figure it out. I have to figure it out now. And thankfully you have each other to like talk each other through it and support each other, which is amazing.
Yeah. So it was a good year plus of kind of learning each of those. Probably the biggest time was the design took a few months, and then the manufacturing took a while. It was a little more complicated than just, it's a card game. So you would think, card game manufacturers, but there's also a dice. And we didn't want to have a bigger box where it's kind of cards and dice and like just more bulky, just keep it as small and as light as possible. So we actually have two different manufacturers, one for the dice, one for the cards. And then the box is not a standard box size. So we had to specialty create the box as well. So nothing's ever as easy as you want. We've gone through multiple shipping orders with our card and dice people. So we're happy there.
And that's awesome. And what was the feeling like when you got your first real production ready box? That's like, how did you guys feel at that moment?
It was exciting. Yeah.
Very exciting. Absolutely.
When you have 1,000 boxes.
There's a minimum requirement, right?
Yeah, exactly. Getting shipped in and you get to go see them for the first time. So
very exciting.
We definitely remember that.
Yeah.
Luckily, this was all I shifted to working from home, and Mallory shifted to working from home for our full-time job. So the day our first actual sale came in and got the notification on my phone. Like I said, we have a daughter. I guess she would have been like one at the time. We have a selfie of the three of us holding up the notification on the phone of the very first sale ever. So little things like that mean a lot now, and especially at the time. I
know your daughter, you said, is only around 2 years old. And how is she taking this book? Do you guys read it to her every night because you're just so excited that it exists? Like, or is she just like, I'm sick of this, I don't even want to look at it?
Yeah. She loves it. We play a very modified card game version with her. So we almost just play it like the game of memory. But she already likes playing that. As we hear a lot of other little kids her age enjoy that. She particularly has favorite monster characters, which has been nice. She really likes the purple one. And then she was the inspiration behind Goodnight Bitcoin.
Gotcha.
We both are strong believers in reading to her all the time and trying to read her content that's rich, that's going to help her. So we also read a lot of Goodnight books. So Goodnight Soccer, Goodnight Moon, there's a bunch of them out there. So she was the inspiration behind Goodnight Bitcoin. And when she got it, she was very excited because we put little special things in the book for her. So she has two little stuffed animals, a stuffed gorilla and a stuffed pink bunny that she always takes to bed with her. So in the book, you can see on the bed, there's a little gorilla and a stuffed bunny. And then at one of the park scenes in the book, there's kids going down a slide, and she really loves going to the park and going down the slide. So she feels especially connected to this book. So she quite enjoys it. And we, of course, enjoy reading it to her as well.
Yeah. She gets to pick out the book. She gets to read every night, or I guess throughout the day, or picking them up and reading herself.
Yeah.
And so she definitely grabs it. I know she was reading yesterday or the day before.
Yeah, she was.
So she just enjoys, like you said, the monsters are something that herself and really kids and adults have really gravitated towards, which is awesome. So we have some big plans for where those can go.
And do you, I guess during your prototyping and testing, were you testing out with your friends who also have children? And how is that process? I mean, it's hard for me to believe everyone's like, yeah, Bitcoin, show me what you got. There's got to be that one friend that's like, Scott, Mallory, please, like, I don't want to hear this anymore. Like, how is that like, just trying to share that?
Yeah.
Yeah. We played it a lot with some friends and family, but we're pretty low key on the orange pilling, I would say. We kind of take a stance back. All of our friends and family and gosh, maybe even our neighbors know that we're in the Bitcoin space. And if they want to have conversations about it, then we're happy to have conversations about it. We're really not pushy individuals. So, we're not inviting people over and forcing them to play our card game. But the book has spurred conversation. I have go on a tangent, but Scott and I were out to dinner one night and my mom was babysitting our daughter and our daughter was doing her nightly routine. So she gets to pick out whatever book she wants to read. She, has choice over that. And she picked out the Goodnight Bitcoin book and my mom read it to her. And my mom has been one who isn't really interested in Bitcoin. I think a lot of people can relate where their parents just don't quite understand it. My mom's like a real firm believer in like fiat money, like sitting in her bank. Yeah. She likes to see it like sit there. So she was reading the book and we came home that night and then she started asking us questions about it. She said, oh, I think that there's, in the book, there's a character called Satoshi. Yep. Where did you guys come up with that name? Thinking that we just invented that ourselves, right? And then there's also a line in it that says, let me read you the line. And in January 2009, the first Bitcoin blocks were stacking. And she was like, really? Did it just start in 2009? That's pretty recent. So it was interesting to see her bring the conversation to us.
Yeah, it brings so many questions to, I guess, adults who don't fully understand or are first learning about it. Like, that's awesome. It brings a lot of questions to you and makes you explain it to them. And like, that's also a difficult part because I know you guys said like, you just also learn about it and you had to educate other people on it. And how is your like editing process and reviewing process of like, is what we're saying correct? Because sometimes I doubt myself when I explain things to people. They ask me a question, I'm like, you know what? I kind of don't know how to answer that sometimes. So how is that process like?
I think it was a little more scary for the game than the book. Since the book itself was written at a pretty simplistic language where the facts that we used in there, like we said, okay, we don't need to. It's obviously his name is Satoshi. There's another character, a monster named Hal. Okay, we know Hal Finney. We know the date. We know what a hash is. Like those terms. So it's not super deep. So that one was less nerve wracking for us for the game because, like I said, it's centered around Bitcoin mining, and neither of us had ever mined. It was just learning, from reading the white paper and just listening to podcasts and whatever else. I think it was really in some ways, because a lot of the people around us, when we were playing before we launched it, they didn't know what mining was, or they didn't really know what Bitcoin was. So there wasn't really a way to test it, to be completely honest. It was more of I think we got this. I think this is what, is actually showing the process that makes sense. And going back to, I guess, two things. Before we went to Miami in this past year, the very first Bitcoin meetup that we were able to go to, it was in Anaheim, or I guess it was Irvine. And we were there and we had a small table set up because it was a gathering for a hamburger place that was just starting to accept Bitcoin. So
cool.
Brian Harrington had invited a few vendors from the Southern California area to set up there too. And so we had a small table. There were a couple kids who were playing. They played for like an hour straight, which was awesome. And all of a sudden this guy comes over. And he's standing next to me, and Mallory's, I think you're showing one of the girls how to play. And he goes, the gentleman goes, oh, is this game teaching people how Bitcoin mining works? And I was like, oh yeah, it does. And he stands there for another second. He goes, wow, I'm the CEO of a public mining company, and I've never seen mining explained in such a simple and fun way. I need this for not only like employees, but like investors who I try to explain this to, and other ideas. So from there, like hearing those same things from other people in the mining space when we were in Miami, that was really the validation after the product was already out there. But we've talked to so many people who actually mine, and they're part of public companies and that stuff, where they say those sorts of things. It's like, okay, we have that confidence in knowing that this game is tried and true. It's also STEM authenticated, so for people who are in the traditional education space, having that STEM seal of approval hopefully will help it get weaved into kind of the traditional education. Ultimately,
and what is exactly the STEM authentication? What does that provide?
So STEM stands for science, technology, engineering, and math. Sometimes it's known as STEAM, where they throw an A in there for arts. Really, it's all the same thing. But it's a way for curriculum to kind of, one, be guided in certain ways. So if you're a fifth grader, maybe, these STEM standards need to be taught to you compared to this.
Gotcha.
It's just a standardization. So there's a company, STEM.org, where they have the power to go and say, these games or books or shows or whatever it is, they're following different STEM education guidelines that make sense. And so you're able to get that probably about 6 months or so after we launched.
Nice.
And so from there, a lot of the activity over the past 6 months to a year, there's a bunch of people around the world that have started building curriculum around the game and the book as well, but really the game itself.
And how's growth been? So you started in 2020, and that's I guess 2 years ago now, because we're in 2022. But how's growth been? Like, was it growing like Bitcoin's bull run, or was it just like a giant volatile?
We wish. No, it's fun. So we've never done a single ounce of paid marketing whatsoever. It's just been word of mouth, or how you and I met, just kind of reaching out to people that you think might be interested in and learning more. And the nice thing about the community is, there's some bad eggs out there, but if people have their DMs open and you seem sincere, they'll at least take a look or whatever. So that's really how we've done it. So we launched in July of 2020, so we had about a half year there, just the game. Since then, between the book and the game, we've sold a few thousand.
Wow.
Between the two. And then we have, it's over there, we recently, over the past month or so, partnered with a company called Sats Ledger. So they're the gentleman who runs it, he's out of the UK, but it's really kind of a ledger product where there's 2 books, stickers and other things, where if you have kids and if you're maybe giving them an allowance in Bitcoin, being able for them to track it along the way and do different things. So we're able to resell that through the website. And so that's part of the idea for, with me leaving my full-time job and going into 2022, is to keep expanding and see where it can all go.
Nice. And yeah, I'm sure there's a ton of room for expansion, because Bitcoin's not the only coin. I'm really hoping for Good Morning Ethereum, or teaching kids on what proof of staking is like too. Hopefully that comes.
Yeah, we'll see where it all goes.
So then, now that you're in this crypto industry a lot, you're kind of understanding the market, the people, the pros and cons. What's a crypto pet peeve that you guys have? You can each have one differently if you.
I don't have one. I mean, I might just have my blinders on and have hit the jackpot of people, but I cannot express how generous and kind and welcoming every person that we've interacted with on any real level has been in the Bitcoin space to us. And I think it's because we have a product that's real and that's, teaching people, and there's nothing else really like it. So people are perceiving us in a positive way, and we have really good attitudes, and we want to learn. And people learn from us, but really, honestly, we learn from other people. So all of the people that we're meeting and interacting with, and doing podcasts with, and hanging out with at events, they're amazing. I don't really have a pet peeve. I'm blown away by the collaboration and the welcomeness in this type of community, because I think it's really hard to find a community that is so diverse and all over the world, and yet so welcoming.
And I think mine, I agree with all that. If I had to say one thing, it'd probably still be from just kind of the outsiders, and just, whether they're friends and family who still aren't, fully understanding things, or just, the media or whatever. Just, we're still at that adoption curve where you have to deal with the news stories that don't make sense, or whatever it is, or your friend who, that's all they're hearing. And then like, oh, Bitcoin's down today. Like, okay, that's not the point.
I know, it's exactly how I feel. Like, okay, I don't care what the price, what cool tech is happening. What public good is being offered now because of this technology. And that's like,
it's like you've been saying the same thing for the past 4 years, and guess what? Over that 4 years, we're fine.
And like, that's another thing. Like, a lot of the media always pushes how Bitcoin mining is bad for the environment. It's global catastrophe. And to me, I don't see it that way. I mean, there's a lot worse we are doing to our environment other than Bitcoin mining. But like, how do you educate on that matter? Because it's kind of like people are always brush off the good that's happening with Bitcoin, and like, oh, okay, yeah, money, this, that, fine. But when something bad happens, like you said, the price goes down, some media outlet comes out with some weird viral headline for some clickbaits. How do you usually like educate people on, Bitcoin mining isn't actually that bad, or and help them learn?
Yeah, I guess a lot of from our inner, like, actual friends and family circle, they're not even down the rabbit hole enough to understand why that is even a topic. So it's not something that comes up from them. And really, there hasn't been too much conversation when we're meeting people in person. But I think it would, like you said, just go back to the facts. One, it's not true. You can go find many studies that show how it's actually going to create a greener world out there, and go back to whether it's renewable energies or nuclear or whatever it needs to be. And also, you can always flip the script and say, do you know how much energy it's costing to make your dollars? Not just hitting a button, but it's okay, all the people driving to these offices to then hit the button, or getting on a plane, or whatever it is. Or if you're talking, if it's a gold person, okay, how much does it cost to send your gold around the world in energy and cargo planes and all that stuff? So there's ways to combat it, and it'll become easier, hopefully, as the years go on.
Yeah, for sure. And that's exactly how I look at it too. Now that the game is going good, you're growing. What's your current challenge now with promoting the game and expanding everything about it and marketing it?
Yeah, I think it's really just we're still kind of using that grassroots approach, where we're not, one, we don't have the funds to just go do multi-million-dollar campaigns that are out there. Exactly, it'd be nice, but at the same time, I think it's been more rewarding this way as well, because we know that all these sales that are coming in, they're from true people that have like heard about us, either from us or from somebody who's told them. So it's not just some like Instagram campaign where, okay, I've seen this 62 times, I'm going to finally click on it. So there's that. And then I think part of that challenge was it was becoming where I couldn't balance a full-time job with SHAmory, with our personal life and having a daughter, and the SHAmory side is what's more enjoyable, not only for me, but for Mallory, and being able to have a happier family life and relationship, and see where we can take everything. So that'll hopefully leave part of the challenge that we've faced over the past year with growth. And then I think it'll just be figuring out which of these ideas we want to tackle in which order, and how many can be done, and which we need help with and which we don't. Like I said, we literally do everything ourselves. So whether it's updating the website, or creating new product, or sitting at the kitchen table and packing boxes, Mallory writes a hand signed card with every shipment that goes out. So it's really a labor of love.
That's amazing. What's I guess, how many countless nights have you guys had just putting boxes together?
Those are good nights.
Yeah, those are. I would say, almost every night. I mean, every night or every morning we're packing boxes.
Wow.
Going to the post office almost every day.
Do they know you there now? Like,
it's great.
Hey guys.
They should. Except we live in a very busy, very busy city. So.
And luckily, there's little drop area that we don't have to wait in line. Right? Just
we
drop
just
it in,
take it,
walk in, walk
go.
out. It's usually accompanied by having to stop at the park afterwards with our daughter. So she gets upset if we go to the post office, but don't get to go to the park.
Yeah, you guys got a routine there.
Yes. Depending on how many boxes we have, sometimes we can ride our bikes there too. So that gets her even happier.
Wow. And yeah, that's the thing about crypto too. It's such like a consuming industry, all that information dump in your head, just trying to learn as much as you can, as fast as you can. You know, what do you two do outside of crypto? What hobbies do you have other than your work? But like, what do you do to keep yourselves like entertained from crypto? Or is this just like this is life?
Yeah, well, I think crypto is a hobby of ours, but outside of crypto and outside of being parents, which is also a number one hobby of mine, we're very big into scuba diving.
Did not see that coming.
Yeah, we scuba dived almost all over the globe, many different islands and countries, and it's an amazing hobby, and it's taken us all sorts of places, and we've met incredible, interesting, adventurous people along the way, and had some delicious meals as well. But Belize is probably our favorite scuba diving location. We try to go once a year, as well as some other trips too. So we're big into traveling and scuba diving. What else?
Besides traveling, I'm a big baseball fan. So during the season, you'll find me and Charlotte and Mallory down at the stadium, letting her run around. She actually has her first baseball practice again tomorrow. So sports is up there for us. And then
just nutrition and health.
Yeah, we're always exercising every morning and that sort of thing. So
that's amazing.
Just kind of living a typical San Diego life in many ways.
Sunny,
always in flip-flops and near the beach.
Maybe I should move out there now because it's snowing here. So
yes, please come and visit. It's known as America's best city for a reason. I think
you're right. I should. So have any of those experiences like help influence the characters and the monsters? So if you're scuba diving a lot, do you think some type of subconscious mindset was like, this character can have like some type of amphibian like features?
That's a good question.
That's a good one. Yeah, we haven't had that question before.
No,
I don't think so. All of the characters were just I guess it's just creativity, and then built around certain areas of Bitcoin. So a lot of them are holding a Bitcoin. Some of them are on top of Bitcoin, like actual coins, right? But with beads on them, stacked on top. Yeah,
I would say
from a creative aspect.
But the one connection back to it that I would say is part of the reason that we're passionate about SHAmory is because of the scuba diving side of things, or because of the travel things, because that's kind of the type of environment we want to build for our daughter, where, if we want to go and, work from Belize for 2 weeks or work from wherever for a few weeks, that's what we want to be able to do. So I would say that scuba diving has influenced SHAmory in the sense that that's our lifestyle, to be able to have that sense of freedom, which many times can't happen if you're working a more traditional job. And so that's kind of the emphasis for partly why, I'm making this step and leaving this year, so that we can, knock on wood, act to do that forever.
I hope so too. Now, for those I don't know, where did the name SHAmory come from? Yeah,
good question. So the so SHA, so SHA-256 is the algorithm that's used as part of the mining process. And then Mori is the end of the word memory, since the game is centered around the game memory. So smash those two things together and you get SHAmory.
How long did it take you to come up with that? Was that just like a quick, oh yeah, it makes sense? Or
I think it came pretty quick once the analogy back to the game of memory came into play. I remember it kind of not being a difficult thing, but it was probably more figuring out what the actual gameplay was that took longer.
Was there a runner-up for a name?
I'm sure there were. I'm sure there were the things, but honestly, I don't remember.
I don't remember either.
There might be like a saved Word document on my computer somewhere.
I know, that's how I am too. And I was thinking up different names for this podcast. I'm like, who am I? What am I? What am I talking about?
Yeah.
Should I put a character in there? It's hard. It seems easy once you get it, because it's like a light bulb. Like, oh, I got it. This is it. But
yeah,
it takes a while.
Well, and it was also actually, you know what? There probably were a few other names. Because part of it was then, okay, you know, is the URL available? Those sorts of things. And so luckily SHAmory was still out there, not surprisingly, since it's a made up word.
I like it. It's a good name. I love it. I think it's perfectly fit for Bitcoin's purpose.
Well, somebody had that on Twitter. So like on Twitter, we're play SHAmory instead of SHAmory, because there's somebody out there I don't think they've ever tweeted. And they're like 15 years.
That's the worst. Why do they still have their account?
It's like, yeah. But that's fine. We got play SHAmory now.
That's awesome. Let's see. So for, I guess one of my last questions I like to ask is to really know is, what is your favorite wholesome crypto moment? You're in this industry for a while, you're seeing a lot of different things. What's that time where you're just like, oh wow, this makes me smile?
I think there's a few of them. I'll say one that was very wholesome. I'll actually go back to the that first meetup we were at, and there was the 2 little girls and 1 little boy, between like 6 and 8 years old, something like that. And just being able to, they picked up the game right away, started playing themselves, like I said, for probably an hour at least. And just kind of seeing the beaming smiles on their faces while they were playing, or every time they mined the next block and got a reward. That was probably one of the ones that sticks out, just because it was the first physical event we were able to go to, and first time outside of seeing people that we knew, who are always going to not be the most reliable, but actually just complete strangers and kids nonetheless, enjoy playing. That was probably the first one that pops in my head.
Wow. And what about you, Mallory?
Yeah. I had a conversation with a parent, and she was explaining to me that the game had brought her family closer together, because it's actually it's an individual game, but it's quite collaborative as well. So in traditional games, there's one winner and everybody else is the loser. But in this game, everybody is working together to mine the blockchain to a block height of 10. And if you do that, the game wins. And whoever has the most individual Bitcoin rewards is the individual winner. But really, everyone together worked collaboratively to accomplish a task. And when she said that, you know, it really, I think it was a wholesome moment, just to think that something that we made, you know, in the living room of our house had helped families, you know, come together and do something collaboratively and felt good. Like, it made me feel good.
That's very rewarding too, is like just seeing that, feeling that like what you're doing, what you're creating is going to fruition. Like you're creating something amazing, and people are learning from it and using that every day. Like that's knowledge they're going to have forever. You know, it's like a Disney movie. You're never going to forget it. It's always going to be part of you. It's going to be something you're going to remember and use when you grow up, because as we all know, Bitcoin is here to stay. Like that is the future, and other cryptocurrencies as well.
Yeah, but no, it's always fun. You know, it never gets old seeing pictures or comments come in from people around the world, you know, showing how they're playing with their kids or their family, or like we said, the games for adults too. We have drinking game instructions to be able to drinking game. So being able just to hear about how it's bringing people together. A few months ago, we heard of a family. It was 2 kids, mom, dad, and then grandparents who were all playing. And then a few weeks later, the grandfather went out and started to learn how to mine Bitcoin himself from initially just playing the game. So that's another wholesome moment where you can think of a grandpa who never had been mining himself, just got interested from playing the game with his grandkids, and then went out and started learning the process and setting up an ASIC, which is crazy.
You two are creating a whole new generation of like educated crypto users, and that's definitely something we like all love and appreciate in the crypto industry, is educators, people who are helping us genuinely understand and learn. So definitely thank you so much for creating this and sharing it. And I'm definitely going to purchase one today, right after this.
We appreciate it. And
thank you.
Made a discount code for anybody who's listening. But if you drop Wholesome 10, the number 1010 into the checkout, you'll be able to get 10% off your order. So feel free to utilize that to your heart's content.
Awesome.
We got to tell them where they can go.
Yeah.
And SHAmory.com.
Yeah, SHAMORY.com is our website. You can buy all three of our products. There's even a bundle if you want to buy all three together at a discount price, or you can buy the game on Amazon.
That's amazing. You heard it, folks. Wholesome10 and SHAmory.com. Definitely head there now and get that, because I'll definitely put that in the links too, so everyone else knows, and expect a purchase from me.
Perfect. Thank you so much. It was so nice chatting with you today.
Have a great day. See you guys.
Everybody. Bye.
Bye, guys.